What's up? It's Matt Hill. It's Ruthless Circle Radio, my YouTube channel, website, organization I'm trying to get going. Dedicated mostly to the African American Holocaust, and talk about reparations. We owe the African Americans a lot. It's we think that slavery was abolished because that's what we teach in our schools and stuff. But we segregate our education because we segregate our people. We can't become educated on African Americans through white textbooks. We rewrite the textbooks, so you know what I mean. It's in WA, Eric Wright come up with this concept called street knowledge. He took that crack money, bought these microphones for his brothers and sisters so they'd have a voice. You know what I mean. We need to learn African American history from the African Americans, not from the white man, because the white man will never tell the truth of his own sins. So often here, when I talk about reparations, people come back with, well, I never owned a slave. Well, they've never been slaves. Well, for one, they are enslaved people still. They're a slave to poverty more than anything. So, poverty affects a multitude of aspects of welfare of a people. Poverty, you get, like Malcolm X said, the African Americans, the Negro gets the worst this society has to offer. That comes in the form of education, health care, reparations. The poverty, Dr. King wrote in a letter from the 1963 Birmingham jail. He spoke of vicious mobs coming to lynch your fathers at whim and your mothers at will. About hate-filled policemen who kick, curse, scream, and often kill your black brothers and sisters. He said that the main problems is the vast majority of the 20 million of my Negro brothers and sisters are smothering in an airtight cage of poverty. What's an airtight cage of poverty do? In this country, we judge people about how much money they got. African Americans hold 0.5% of the wealth. This is 2021 statistics. 1870, they held 0.5% of the U.S. wealth. In a nation built upon monetary value, they have made no progress. Now, when we hear the word hustler, our mind clicks to hip hop, to the African American. So it is not that they're not capable of doing it and that they don't try. We got to go back to what Dr. King said, that airtight cage of poverty. What's a cage? It's a cell, a prison. So, the ghetto, we spent $1 trillion to liberate the ghettos in Europe. So the ghettos are by design to be a penitentiary themselves. So, you know what I mean? If you take the time to go out to these predominantly African American neighborhoods and stuff, and drive by their schoolyards, and you'll see. I've been done 4.5 years in prison. I've had better athletic facilities and libraries and stuff at penitentiary yards than they have out in North Tulsa here. You know what I mean? So we're setting these people up for this prison industrial complex. Throughout most of this war on drugs, it's been around 90% African Americans that fill our penitentiaries. So 2021, it's 52%, which is the lowest it's ever been in the history of the DOC system. So the vast majority of my 20 million Negro brothers and sisters smothering in an airtight cage of poverty. What's smothering? You smother and you can't breathe. They've been saying we can't breathe for a long time. What's choking us out is the knee on the neck. No, it's poverty. It's poverty. Y'all keep us impoverished in this airtight cage. Well, what do we keep out of there? We keep industry out of there. Reparations come more than just the form of monetary value. We've stolen a lot more than just the labors from the African American. We've stolen their babies out of their wombs. Been doing it for centuries, selling them on the open market. We still do that today. You know what I mean? When our prison industrial complex, which is the largest in the world, consists of the mass majority being African American, we're still selling to white plantations. I've been to prison. I was on state yards, not so much private owned yards, but let me tell you, there's no such thing as a state-owned yard. They're all private-owned yards. You go to the commissary, and you got a Fago Pop and Frito-Lays and all that. You go on your video visits and your telephone. Those are LLCs and corporations that own them phones and video visits. The money from the prison industrial complex comes from the private industry. I don't care if the state owns the soil or not. Now, for the people that say, well, I've never owned a slave, we can look at that in several different ways. When mass enslavement is mass incarceration, it's the same thing, and the mass majority of those being enslaved by mass incarceration are African American. It's a debt of we the people. We are all slave owners. If we pay into that system and allow it to exist, we don't battle it because it don't affect us. We're 68% of the population. Yes, we're less than 10% of the prison population as white people. It doesn't affect us in a way that we find it necessary to fix, to even look at in a deeper manner. We don't care about our black brothers and sisters out there. We segregate them. Malcolm X said in 1963, it's always the Negro that's segregated. We want to put our problems first. We want to act like this is our country, that they're a sub-people. So, statistics don't lie. So, if we can accept that us as 68% of the population only makes up for around 7% of the felony crime in this country, yet 14% of the population makes up for over half, almost all of the felony crime at a lot of points in time, then we have a very superior way of, not a superior way of thinking, but we believe that our way of thinking is superior. DOC stands for Department of Corrections. We correct behavior. Well, let's look at the big picture. When we take 14% of the population and place them in the Department of Corrections, we say that the African Americans need to correct their behaviors. Now, so do we blame them for the airtight cage that we built? They were enslaved people for 360 plus years in this country. They didn't elect these laws. They weren't even allowed to vote till the 20th century. So, it's how can we say blame them for an environment we created, that we allowed to create? This is a democracy, mob rules. Middle white America is the problem. We allow that to exist. We don't say, man, our black brothers said we've stole a lot from them. We stole education from them. It was a crime punishable by death for an African American to be educated for many centuries in this country. We've stolen a lot from these people. Welfare, health care. You don't think they don't have the most extreme? We always want to talk about genetic evolution and stuff, the evolution of the human mind. When you keep a people in manacles and enslaved in an air, suffocating from air in an airtight cage of poverty for 400 years, you don't think that doesn't affect these people? You don't think they don't have PTSD to an extreme level? I guarantee you they got worse PTSD. Not only do they fight a war that is probably more harsh than the wars we fight in Iraq and Afghanistan on a daily basis. You know what I mean? We have armed militias rolling up and down these Compton blocks and these Watts blocks every day, kicking in doors, raids, missions, seek and destroy. You know what I mean? But just the 400 years of oppression, robbing them of welfare, treating them like they're less than humans, selling them on open markets for 400 years that we still do today. We don't find it unjust that an African American must stand in front of a white man with a gavel in metal manacles from head to toe to be sold to a white corporation in 2021. We're not a good people. This is not a great nation. How can we call it a great nation when we still allow white men to sell African Americans on the open market in mass? Mass incarcerations, mass enslavement. The 13th Amendment didn't abolish slavery. It made it legal by punishment of a crime where the party is duly convicted. Well, what's that do? That socializes slavery. So to say you're not a slave owner, 13th Amendment says we are. If we're paying taxes in this system and allowing these injustices to happen, then one might say, what are we supposed to just let anarchy in the African American community? Let it know. Here in the state of Oklahoma, we got what we call the McGirt Act. The Native Americans, they can't be tried in state courts. They must be tried on a federal level, you know what I mean, where they might get a taste of justice, you know. Are the African Americans not a sovereign people? Do we not steal them off their land and bring them to this land? They're the ones that farm this land and mine this land, and refine this land. It was their labors that built this land. So you know what I mean? It's time that they are awarded their sovereignty. You know, they have the title of African and they have the title of American in their name, and they've earned both. You know what I mean? We can't rob them from their African heritage, nor can we rob them of their American heritage. Now, we want to tie slavery to it, but we should. Slavery has forged these into the most beautiful people in the world. You know what I mean? They not only have they survived slavery, but they have grown and flourished in slavery. We've kept them suffocating. We let no water, no oxygen into that airtight cage. If these people grow and grow and grow. When Dr. King wrote that in 1963, there was around 20 million Negro brothers and sisters smothered in airtight. Now we're around 40 million. We can't kill these people out. They keep growing. They keep getting stronger, even without the water of the U.S. dollar that grows our white communities, our Latino communities, our Native American communities. These people still grow. Like Tupac, they call the rose that grew from concrete. Well, that's the whole of his people. You know what I mean? There's no people more unified than the African Americans. You know what I mean? The African American unity is worldwide famous. You know what I mean? Reparations come in the form. We owe them education. We owe them health care. We owe them monetary value. We owe them industry. We owe them the investments in these neighborhoods. You know, we must do a lot for these people. You know, not only is it a debt of we the people, the Constitution says there's three purposes to collect taxes in this country. One is for the common defense. Well, African Americans, if they're up to 90% of the prison population at times, they have no proper defense. We're sending attack militias into their neighborhoods and not people to defend them in those neighborhoods, you know. To pay the debt. Well, we have a large debt. We can't just look at the Old South. That cotton they grew, and the rice fields and the food and all those raw resources that African Americans were forced for free to grow and to produce in this country is, you know, that fueled the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution is what made us the most wealthy nation in the history of the world. The African Americans played a very large part in it because they supplied the raw materials. So, you know, the North was built upon slavery just as much as the South was. Civil War would have been easy to prevent. All the North would have had done is said, we're not going to buy any slave-buying goods. You know what I mean? Slave-grown goods. Pay them workers, or we're not buying your goods. Well, no, then we don't have nothing to fuel our economy with, do we? So their economy was fueled on slavery just as much as the South's economy was. Just the North profited more off of it. So, you know, it's not a whole lot different than today, you know what I mean? African American forced to slave on the plantation for free, so white men up north would have jobs in the textile industries, in the tobacco plants and stuff, so that they would all have jobs, getting paid well, while the African American was getting paid nothing. Well, as we build these penitentiaries in mass like no other country in the history of the world has ever done in this prison industrial complex, it's my African American brothers and sisters that predominantly fill the halls of the penitentiary system and the Department of Corrections in this country. Well, those are white corporations that are building those video visits of the Microsofts on the walls. You know, the Fago Pop. Fuck Insane Clown Posse. Fuck Insane Clown Posse. Every penitentiary yard I was on and every jailhouse I've been in sells Fago Pop. Now, one might say, well, that's cool, you know. No, because they get on there, they say they got love for my brother Eric Wright. They act like they fuck the police, they say. Well, you sitting there making money with the police, ICP. You sitting there profiting off Eric Wright's people, off my African American brothers and sisters by selling Fago Pop on them yards. What are you doing to end this mass enslaving of my black brothers and sisters? All you're doing is profiting off of them while you're getting out there saying, fuck the police. I love Eric Wright. I love Easy. You're just part of the enslavement of his people. So, fuck ICP. These the ICPs and the people putting these phones on the wall, the corporations, the Prodigy Solutions and stuff, all these people that are making money off these penitentiary yards, these people that build the bunks, the boats, the trays. There's a lot of money in the prison industrial complex. It's second to none to the military industrial complex, and they a lot of times go hand in hand. Same weapons the military use are the same people, the same weapons they use to go extract my African American brothers and sisters from the Zion ghetto, the airtight cage of poverty we know as the ghetto, and put into the concentration camps of our penitentiary system. And those same weapons are used in the halls of these penitentiary systems to keep these people in check. So, those are all white corporations. The black man slaves while the white man profits. Well, we refuse to pay reparations to these people. Like I said, the Constitution, national defense, the common defense. My black brothers and sisters get no benefit of that. National debt, our first and our oldest debt is to the African American people. Other than the Native Americans for still on their land. We've been paying reparations to them, but we deny them to my African American brothers and sisters. So, same people that say, I've never owned a slave, I don't owe the African Americans any reparations, will say, man, we stole this land from the Native Americans, we owe them reparations. Well, we do owe the Native Americans reparations. By God, we do. But we owe the African Americans reparations too. You can't say that you stole this land from the Native Americans, just you didn't ever own a slave. If you stole this land from the Native Americans, then you owned a slave. I mean, it's just logic. Let's not be hypocritical when it comes to justice. Hypocrisy and justice do not weigh up together. They don't go hand in hand. So, not only do we need to tax, let me start here. African Americans have to pay taxes to pay reparations to other races while they receive none themselves. It's the white man, the Caucasian, that owes reparations to both the African Americans and the Native Americans. No African Americans should be taxed and have their hard-earned labors taken from them and given to another race to pay reparations that they're denied. We need to up our taxes as white people. I don't care if we do it on a corporate level or the blue-collar level. We're all guilty of it, and we need to pay. So, it's time for a justice tax for the African American people to start paying them reparations back for 400 years of unpaid labors. So, it's time to superfund the education system because we denied them 400 years of education. We can't just say, well, now you get equal money to the white man to fund your schools. No, we got a justice before equality. So, we got to super fund their schools because we super denied them education. Then these industries they built, industries built around the cotton industry, for instance, or the tobacco industry. Yes, it was the Native American that showed us the tobacco plant, but it was the African American that was forced at the whip and at the noose to plow the land. To cultivate the land, to plant them seeds, to grow that tobacco, to chop that tobacco, to refine that tobacco for the white man to profit off of. Now, Native Americans get, tax-free smoke shops and stuff. So should African Americans, because they have a huge part in building R.J. Reynolds and Philip J. Morris and all that. So we need to look at anybody in the cotton industry. Cotton's a registered trademark. Well, it needs to pay the African American people who built that industry. The tobacco industry owes billions, if not trillions of dollars to the African American people. Not only do we, the people, owe reparations to them, but these corporations in these cotton industry, in the rice industry, the tobacco industry, owe the African Americans a lot of money too. The money's all there. We just deny them. We keep that cage airtight. NFL and NBA. What if all the African Americans in the NFL and NBA, instead of taking a knee for the national anthem, just took a seat like Rosa Parks and said, "Nah, I ain't playing no ball. Not until my black brothers and sisters in every impoverished neighborhood in this country have the best athletic facilities in the world." I bet the NFL and the NBA would have the best athletic facilities in the world put in every poor African American school in this nation. They find out real quick. You got one Native American, two white guys, and a Latino out there on the field, and everybody else is African American, and we're sitting over here saying, "Nah, pay back to our people." The NBA and the NFL are nothing but white plantations that make mass billions of dollars off the African Americans. So they owe a lot to my black brothers and sisters. So it's reparations comes in many forms. So peace. All works dedicated to Eric Wright. Easy motherfucking E. So I hope to pursue his dreams so that that his people may rest in peace, so that he may rest in peace one day.